I'm Porter Brooks, your host, and on today's episode, well, we're bringing back things from the past. It's all about a formal dinner party with friends. Today, we're going to do some modern twist on some old classics like a basic filet mignon, but I'm going to give you a really cool yellow pepper coulis sauce that's going to go with it, and we're going to do some beautiful cheesy sausagey mushroom tarts and a roasted tomato and all the really basic stuff, including a demi-glace even. Well, the first thing I want to get going, I already have some onions caramelizing, and that was 1 cup of butter with 2 sliced onions, and we've got it down to just a beautiful warm caramelization. That's where all the sugars are coming together and all the flavors from those onions are getting absolutely freshened up and flavorful. I'm going to drop, to begin, some Italian sausage, which is in the case. And what I'd like to do is just drop in the sausage through the casing, and I just run it through my fingers. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and buy an uncased Italian sausage, you can do that. Spicy or mild, I think I've got the spicy here today, but if you use the mild Italian sausage, just add some red peppercini, some fennel, and a few other things to add a little bit more flavor. This starter is going to be done in a little tart pan, and so it's going to have a lot of intensity and layers in the flavor. Cream cheese is going to be going in this, some green herbs, some fantastic white wine, really a full flavored tart. All right, we're gonna bring the heat up on that. We're gonna saute the sausage in there. The fats that are in the sausage are gonna help us add a deeper saute and help deepen up the flavor. And once that's cooked down just a little bit, that sausage begins to render, we're gonna go ahead and start adding mushrooms and then cream cheese and all of our different flavorings. In the meantime, I promised you a yellow pepper coulis, and a coulis, I guess, is one of those fancy words that they use, but instead of the red peppers, I've got these beautiful yellows that I'm finding more and more available all the time in the store. Not as available as my knife. Let me set that aside. We've talked about how we prep a pepper in the past, but basically all we're gonna do, because this is gonna go into a food processor, is we're just gonna take the core of the pepper out and discard it, and we just want some nice even chunks. You know, the smaller they are, the faster they'll cook, but this recipe is really nothing more than peppers and water in a food processor or a really powerful blender. So let's add that to our salted boiling water. We have a half in, and I think probably for 6 people, we're probably gonna need 2 of these peppers so that we have enough volume, which will probably yield just about a cup of the coulis sauce, which is gonna be a blended pepper sauce. Now the tart is coming up, the tart filling, I should say, is heating up beautifully. We want to mash up and break up those sausage chunks. Sometimes a flat spatula can work really well if you're not using a Teflon coated pan. There they are. Love that. We'll reduce that heat just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to leave our peppers in their water. Again, about 2 cups of salted water, 2 peppers, and we're going to bring that up to a boil. Now that our sausage is sauteing and our beautiful caramelized onions are doing, wow, everything they're supposed to be doing, we're going to add the next ingredients, which are our pre-sliced mushrooms. Already washed, already cleaned and brushed over. We're going to just add that to the mixture. Now, the old classic 50s and 60s way to serve a filet mignon was always on some piece of starch. Usually, it was often like a crumpet or an English muffin, but something that was a bed, a plateau, if you will, for all those juices to work in. I first did this years ago, and I thought I'd bring it back because it's such a popular idea, and I haven't done it for probably 6 or 7 years. We're going to cover that, let that reduce just a little bit. And we're gonna go on to our savory Belgian waffle. Now, I'm using a store-bought waffle mix, which quite frankly works the best. And it's 2 cups typically of your store-bought waffle mix. I'm gonna use a nice big bowl. Now, think about a savory donut or a savory waffle and your regular breakfast waffle. That certainly had sugar and vanilla and cinnamon and all of those sweet flavors. It also has oil, usually vegetable oil, but we're going to change everything out to a savory element. Simple and easy. So instead of our vegetable oil, it's going to be some olive oil. We will use an egg, as the recipe calls for, just one egg. And I keep a second egg in reserve because I like these waffles to be really fluffy. And we do have some milk, but I'm going to split half of what the recipe calls for in milk and the other half with a little herbed chicken stock that I've pre-made. So we have our mix in. We'll add our milk. You can do this in your mixer or blender, by the way, but I'm just going to hand mix it for you today. And I like using a low whisk to start, a little bit more of our batter mix, and in this case we definitely want to thicken this up. Just probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons will do it. So you never see salt called for in a breakfast waffle, but because we're going to make a savory waffle, I'm going to add some ground sea salt, which is a nice smooth flavor, and some beautiful, beautiful mixed French herbs, and I've got some culinary lavender tucked in here. It's going to be a really perfumey smell, and this is going to be the stage for our filet mignon to sit on. All right, let's see if we can pull that together. That's looking really, really nice. You can see the herbs coming through. Okay, when I make waffles, I like to use a measuring cup, and I also like to use the great technology of today, which is cooking spray. So I completely coat my waffle iron, not a corner uncoated with cooking spray. That's the way you're going to make sure that this comes out nice and even. And my waffler actually serves 4, and we're serving 4, so we'll have 1 square per person. We go right into the center of that waffle iron. I'm using an 8-ounce ladle. It makes it so easy. If we do it good, it will probably boil over on the sides. We kind of want to just distribute that just a little bit to see where we are. And as you can see, the mix is almost perfect right to the edge. It's great if it rolls over because then you can lick it off. We're going to close that waffler. Don't touch it. We want these to be crispy waffles because we're going to have a nice juicy piece of filet, and we want it to absorb all of those wonderful juices. All right, back to our tart filling. I'm going to add the cream cheese, which is a full package, and we're going to break that up into chunks. And then we will cover and let that simmer. When we come back, I'll show you how our puff pastry comes together, a 2-minute roasted potato, and we'll see these great savory Belgian waffles come off the iron. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All the cream cheese is now in with our sausage. Look at how that's coming together with the mushrooms. All right, now we're gonna need a little bit of acid to break up the fats in that cheese. When I was away at break, I checked on the waffle and it was looking really good. Now that you're back with me, we can continue on here, and I can smell that the peppers are cooking up beautifully. We're gonna let that cream cheese come to a low simmer and a boil. A couple things right on top, some black pepper into our filling, and even some more salt. We'll raise the temp up on that. While we're here, let's go ahead and check on our peppers. Oh, see, those are getting nice and tender, which is what we're after. Look how beautiful that yellow pepper is. Every time I say yellow, red, tangerine, orange, I'm confusing stuff all the time, but you get the idea. It's all about the flavor. Okay, those are in great shape. Now over here, what I have is a store-bought demi-glaze that I'm going to add some different flavors. This is going to be a dark sauce on our filet on top of that waffle. And speaking of which, it's hot. Let's check that out. Oh, those are perfect. Look at our beautiful Belgian waffles. One for each filet mignon. We're gonna have this beautiful sauce all over it, which means we really do need to get to our puff pastry. Let me join me over here on the board. I'll move my fillets forward, and we're gonna start rolling out some puff pastry. Now, I know you've seen me do this before, but it's just the best entertainer's trick in the world. First of all, a great flat surface, and if you have a chilled surface, it's even better, but a chopping block works just fine. Lots and lots and lots of flour. That's gonna keep this store-bought, partially thawed out puff pastry in perfect condition for you to work with. You need it pliable, but it needs to be firm. All right, I can hear everything simmering over here. All right, an entertainer's best friend, a sheet of store-bought puff pastry. And we're gonna lay that out. Now in this case, I just want to add a little bit of length. This sheet is gonna be a little bit smaller than we normally do. And you wanna measure it with our pan and take your well-floured rolling pin. And again, this is a little bit more rectangular, so I'm just gonna go 2 pushes out and then back down. Okay, I'm gonna want enough for 2 sheets of this, one on the bottom and one on the top, or at least to be able to fold it over. And it looks like I'm in the safety zone there. So that'll be our first piece. Just grab yourself a knife and cut that off. And you want to just pick up your tart pan and drop that floured puff pastry right in there. What's great, it's very pliable. You can pull it and tuck it around. And it's got these really fancy scalloped edges, which we're gonna pinch right there. All right, that's gonna be the bottom of it. All right, I'm gonna trade this out and put my puff pastry up here where my filling is. Now let's go back to that beautiful mushroom and sausage filling. I think I want a little bit of heat in this. I'm gonna add a little bit of pepperoni on top of this. You can see those chunks of cheese, which is exactly what you're after. And now I'm going to fill right into my tart pan this great savory filling. Okay, let's add all that up nice and even, and then reach right behind you where you left that other piece of pastry. Just eyeball that, and we're gonna cover that up nice and rustic. This is not fancy. Grab your knife and we'll put a couple of holes, little chimney vents for the steam to come out of the puff pastry. And grab that, pop that into a 400-degree oven until all this pastry is puffed up and brown. And 400 for about 20 to 30 minutes. Keep an eye on that. You want it golden brown. All right, well, when we come back, the tart is coming out. I'm gonna show you how to sear our fillets. We're gonna make that last-minute pepper coulis, everything that you're gonna need to throw a great dinner party with friends. I'm Porter Brooks, and I'll be right back. Well, if you're just joining us, we're cooking a great dinner party for friends, and I'm getting ready for just the final moments by putting some great garlic on these beautiful fillets. Now I'm going to show you how to take these beautiful miniature fillets and just sear them perfectly in a cast iron skillet. Lots of garlic on this. I like to just smell that beautiful flavor coming through. We'll leave those in place so we get a good sear on the side. That's going to lock in all of those flavors. And as you can see behind me, that beautiful tart has come out. We'll cut that up in just a second. But let's jump to our stovetop for our 2 sauces. The Belgian waffle is holding warm in the waffle iron. That way it's going to be nice and crispy. And I have 8 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 whole cloves of garlic, and I'm going to add a little bit of cream right on top of that. This is going to be a great cheesy sauce. And then some Greek crumbled feta cheese. Now, it's a really pungent flavor, but when I add just a little bit of wine, it's going to really smoothen that down. So I'm going to do a fillet on our herbed waffle, and it's going to have 2 sauces. First is our blonde sauce, and then second, well, that is our help from the store with some pre-made demi-glace, which I'm going to mix up. Watch out that fillet. And now is where I'm going to try to give this some help. Great red wine right over it. Maybe just about a half a cup. And some whole cracked pepper. Lovely. All right, let's check those fillets because they're talking to me right now. Nice and seared. That's beautiful. You see it just takes a couple of seconds. Change it on the fire. All right, now these are going to finish in the oven, which means we can turn this down and pop that in. And by the way, when you were at commercial, I roasted some tomatoes, just a little bit of dill and olive oil, and they're gonna come out as just a beautiful giant bloom on our plate. All right, let me get that demi-glace a little bit closer. And then we'll grab a whisk and come over to our lovely cheese and cream sauce. Firing up the heat on that. Now you don't want to walk away with the cheese and cream sauce because it's sure to scorch. And those haricots verts, these great green beans, I pop those in. Those are gonna be crispy and bright on the side. That's a great green bean. All right, we're gonna bring the white sauce up. Now, while we're waiting for that to come to a simmer, let's make our coulis, which is over in our mini food processor. I've let our peppers cool down just enough so that I can actually get them safely into the food processor. I'm going to use my tongs. Now that cooking liquid down there, which was just water and salt, that's really going to be what we use to get this all liquefied. That looks perfect. Look at that great yellow in that food processor. And I have a little bit of my reserved chicken stock. Just give it a touch so that we make sure that everything is going to be moving. We'll pop that in and we'll chop. All right, let's check on the consistency of that. That looks bright. A little bit of salt put in there. Now we can reserve that off. Let's take our beautiful yellow pepper coulis and put it into just a little small pitcher. That way we can pour it on the plate and it won't go all over the place. You can use a squirt bottle as well at this point. All right, fillets are in. Our white sauce is coming up. And now it's really time to start getting ready to plate. I told you about the tart, that beautiful mushroom tart. Here it is. Came out of the oven in that pan, and I'm gonna just pop it right out of its base and set that on my board. You can set the ring aside, and we can cut this into beautiful individual slices. Let's do that one. It's going to come right off the bottom of the pan. And one more. Now, this is where our coulis sauce is going to come in. We'll pick up this piece. And let me carry that right to our smallest plate in the service. That's going to be our starter. Okay. Grab a little coulis sauce, some yellow pepper. That looks pretty wonderful. All right, that is our first course. We're gonna set that aside. And now, of course, we need to plate our main, which begins with the plateau, our Belgian waffle. Now these should come up perfectly at this point. Wonderful, nice square waffle. We'll set that right there. And I told you about those great tomatoes. Let's find ourselves a nice olive wood spatula. Let's just try to loosen that guy with our olive wood spatula and then switch to a nice flat metal spatula to move that from out of the pan and onto the plate. Nice and bright, just like that. Okay, well, the beans are the easy part. Our white sauce is looking beautiful. Some nice haricots verts, which are our skinny French green beans, right on the side. Make sure you get a couple of those almonds from the bottom there, those beautiful toasted almonds, just to give it some texture. All right, we are ready for the star of the show, which is the filet mignon. And that has gone in. We have our demi sauce already. Nice and rare is exactly the way this is going to be. Let me grab the smaller of the two. Oh, that looks beautiful. Pop that on our board. And what I like to do is just shingle a little bit of this perfectly cooked filet right off of there two. I like it rare, so this piece will definitely be for me. Now remember, we have our second one for our 4 guests, so equal portions right on top. Nice, beautiful. And let's look for that ladle that we were working with. And our first sauce will be our nice dark red wine demi right over the top. Beautiful, beautiful, luscious brown sauce. And then our second one, of course, is going to be our wonderful cheesy white sauce. Yeah, good chunks of cheese. Everything we need. Beautiful, fantastic, and a wonderful, wonderful dinner for friends. A gorgeous tart with a coulis sauce, beautiful French green beans, a classic roasted tomato on our Belgian waffle with our 2 sauces. I'm Porter Brooks, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. All of these recipes, these tricks, these techniques, everything is online. You can tweet me, you can look me up, but until next time, call your friends, make this menu, and I will see you next time when I entertain the world one table at a time.